I beg you, gods of my fathers, let this child be born strong. Let the tears flow, my sister. I am right here. We will face this together.
Because the price had been paid. By morning, the entire kingdom knew. The drums did not beat, the women did not sing, the air itself felt heavy. A prince dead, without explanation, without warning. Men whispered in fear. This is not natural. The gods are angry. No child just dies like this. Inside the palace, King Ezianiche sat in silence. His face hardened, but his eyes were filled with pain. Queen Adaku refused to let go of her child. Even as they begged her, even as they cried with her, Obinna, still young, stood in a corner, confused, afraid, watching his mother break. "Mother, why is he not waking up?" Adaku could not answer because she did not understand it herself. And then Queen Njideka entered, her hair slightly scattered, her face wet with tears, her voice shaking. "My sister, I heard. I came as soon as I could." She rushed forward, fell beside Adaku, and began to cry loudly. "Oh no, this cannot be. This cannot be." But something was wrong, very wrong, because behind her tears, hidden deep within her eyes, was something else. Relief. Adaku looked at her, through tears, through pain, through confusion, and for a brief moment, something flickered in her spirit. A feeling, a whisper, a warning, but grief was louder and it drowned everything else. The child was buried before sunset, as tradition demanded. The zemu was soft, the cries were loud, the pain unbearable. As they lowered the small body into the earth, the wind suddenly blew, hard, violent. The orange trees shook, their fruits falling to the ground, and somewhere, far beyond human sight, something shifted. That night, Adaku could not sleep. Her eyes were swollen, her body weak, her heart empty. Then she heard something, a soft sound, like a child crying. She sat up slowly, her breath caught. No, the sound came again, closer this time. She stood, walked toward the corner of the room, and there, for just a second, she saw it, a small figure standing in the shadows. Her child. She gasped, "My child?" But it vanished, just like that. Njideka stood before Eneka again, her body still weak, her mind shaking. "The child is dead," Eneka nodded. Njideka's voice trembled. "I felt it when it happened." Eneka stepped closer. "And now you are connected." Njideka froze. "Connected to what?" The witch smiled slowly. "To the throne." Eneka's voice dropped to a whisper. "The first blood has been taken." She leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. But the path to power has only just begun. Far away, in the palace, Obinna slept, unaware that he was next. The laughter disappeared. The songs faded. Even the orange trees seemed to bear fruit in silence. And inside the palace, grief turned into something else. King Ezianiche was no longer the man he used to be. Before, he was strength, he was fire, he was authority. Now, he was quiet, withdrawn, watching. The death of his son had done something to him, something deep, something irreversible. He began to question everything, the gods, the spirits, even his own household, because deep inside him, a thought had begun to grow. This was not ordinary. Days passed, but peace did not return. Servants began to whisper. Guards avoided certain corridors at night. Some claimed they saw shadows move where no one stood. A maid swore she heard a child laughing near the burial grounds. Another said she saw Queen Adako speaking alone, as if answering someone unseen. Fear spread quietly, like smoke. But in the midst of fear, Queen Jidekara was changing. Her beauty remained, but her presence had darkened. Her eyes were no longer just sharp, they were cold, calculating, watching everything. And at night, she no longer slept. She walked, alone, silent, drawn again and again to the evil grove. Each visit made her stronger, but less human. Nneka no longer treated her like a visitor. Now, she spoke to her like a student. "You feel it now, don't you?" Njideka nodded slowly. The power. She placed her hand on her chest. "I can feel things. I hear things. I see things before they happen." Nneka smiled. "Good. But you are not done." Njideka's face tightened. "What more is required?" The witch turned away, looking into the darkness of the forest. "For you to rise, another must fall." Njideka already knew, but she still asked, "Who?" Nneka turned back slowly. "The king." Njideka staggered back. "The king?" Her voice cracked. "That is my husband." Nneka's expression did not change. And silence. "You want power," the witch continued. "You want the throne. You want everything Adako has." She stepped closer. "Then you must be ready to lose what little humanity you have left." Njideka's breathing became heavy. Her mind raced. Her heart pounded. But then she remembered. Adaku's children, Adaku's joy, Adaku's place in the king's heart, and her face hardened. What must I do? Nneka handed her a small calabash. Inside it was a thick, dark liquid. "This is not ordinary poison. It does not kill immediately. It weakens the soul, confuses the mind, and slowly disconnects the body from life." Njideka took it with shaking hands. "How do I give it to him?" Nneka smiled. "You are his wife." That evening, the palace was quiet. King Ezianyiche sat alone, a cup of palm wine before him, lost in thought, lost in grief. Njideka entered slowly. "My king." He looked up, tired. "You should not be alone at a time like this." Her voice was soft, gentle, convincing. He sighed. "Nothing makes sense anymore, Njideka." She moved closer, sat beside him. "Let me ease your mind." She reached for the wine, poured it carefully, and when his eyes looked away, she dropped it in. The dark liquid disappeared instantly, like it was never there. She handed him the cup. He hesitated, then drank. And in that moment, something changed. Not immediately, not visibly, but deeply. Days passed. At first, it was small. The king forgot things, simple things, names, meetings, decisions. Then he began to see things, shadows, figures, movements. "Did you see that?" he would ask, but no one else did. Soon, his strength began to fade. His voice weakened. His steps slowed. The once powerful king now struggled to stand for long. The elders became worried. This is not ordinary illness, but they could not find the cause because it was not physical, it was spiritual. Queen Adaku watched everything. Her grief had not left her, but now something else had joined it: suspicion. She remembered her dream, her child, the warning, the woman in red. Her eyes slowly turned towards Njideka. Njideka noticed. Of course she did. And instead of fear, she smiled, because now she was too deep, too powerful, too dangerous. One night, the storm came. Thunder roared, lightning tore the sky apart, and inside the palace, the king collapsed. Guards rushed in, servants screamed. Adaku fell beside him. "My king, stay with me!" But his eyes were fading, his breath fading, and with the last strength he had left, he looked at Obinna, his son, his heir, and whispered, "Be strong." Then silence. The king was dead. The aftermath. The storm did not stop. It raged as if the heavens themselves were angry. Umuoji had lost its king, and nothing would ever be the same. The elders gathered. The tradition was clear. The first son, Obinna, shall become king. But he was still a child, too young to rule, and that was exactly what Njideka had been waiting for. She stepped forward, calm, composed, deadly. "I will guide him. I will protect the throne. I will rule until he comes of age." No one argued, because no one knew what she had become. That evening, as the kingdom mourned, Njideka stood alone looking at the throne. Her lips slowly curled into a smile, and far away in the evil grove, Ineka whispered into the wind, "The king is gone. Now the real darkness begins." A king had fallen, and a child had been crowned. The day was heavy, not with celebration, but with fear. Tradition demanded it. The first son must take the throne. So the elders gathered. The red-capped chiefs stood in silence. The drums beat, slowly, like a heartbeat fading. Young Obinna stood before them, dressed in royal cloth, coral beads resting on his small chest. But his eyes were not those of a king. They were the eyes of a child who had seen too much, lost too much, too soon. "Do you accept the crown of your father?" an elder asked. Obinna hesitated. His gaze moved to his mother, Adaku. She forced a smile, but her eyes were filled with pain. Then slowly, he nodded. "I accept." And just like that, a child became king. But everyone knew the truth. Obinna wore the crown, but Njideka held the power. She stood behind him during the coronation, still, elegant, watching, like a shadow that could not be removed. When the ceremony ended, she stepped forward. "Until the king comes of age," her voice was calm, controlled, commanding. "I will guide the affairs of this kingdom." No one objected, not because they agreed, but because something about her felt wrong. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, Umuoji began to shift. The palace, once full of life, became quiet, too quiet. Corridors that once echoed with laughter now held whispers.